Good evening, everyone. This is Leslie Asoyan with another episode of Better Wethersfield. Today is Friday, June 9th, 2014. Thank you for joining our show and watching us. We have a great show tonight. We have the Writers Circle writers here tonight, and we're going to learn so much about them, their group, and the book that they had published, and lots of great information and lots of great women to talk about their anthology and their work, and a really fun night for you, and looking forward to getting started. Let me first introduce you to Gloria, who's going to talk about the book and the Writers Circle group and give a little bit about the history of the group, and then we're going to get into meeting all of the members of the group, and they're going to give us some details about each of their works and a little bit of a bio. But let's start off with Gloria. Gloria, nice to see you.
Nice to see you too, Leslie. Well, I'm Gloria Pitchell, and I'm a member of the Writers Circle. And we meet twice a month, and we've been together for 6 years. And we have just completed an anthology called Spilled Ink, where we've each contributed 3 or 4 pieces for publication. And we just did it in December, so it's relatively new. We are a group who help each other, and we critique each other's work twice a month, and we submit a week before so that everyone gets a chance to read the submission. The thing that is beautiful about this group is that we are encouraging, and we are honest, and we're very respectful of each other. And I think that has gone a long way into each of us being an individual and working on our own individual projects. Each one of us is working on a novel. We have a poetess here who writes poetry. We have Sandra, who has her own business, and she'll tell you about a little bit later. And we also have a published author in Sarah. So maybe I should start turning it over to my associates here. We'll start with Diane. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Diane.
Hi, my name is Diane Shovak. I live in Wethersfield, and I've been with the group since it began approximately 6 years ago. And we enjoy each other's company as well as each other's work. And I have just finished a novel and have a couple of agents interested in it. I also write some memoir, and I have published short essays in New Milford Times, as well as a traveling sculpture show that was at a Salem Artworks in New York. I contributed an essay, and it traveled around Vermont and upstate New York. So I've been writing a long time, and now that I'm retired, I'm trying to write more and be more serious about it. My friends are helping me.
That's wonderful. So when the group started 6 years ago, I think when we talked earlier, you were saying that it started, or it actually emanated from the Wethersfield Public Library.
Yes.
So there was an ad in the paper.
Yes, there was a flyer in the Rare Reminder, and it said, "So you think you'd like to write?" So all of us who saw it, and then we started out with about 20 people who went to the library, and we worked together, and then little by little some people left. Mm-hmm. But most of us have been, since 6 years, we've been together. And it started from that, from a little ad in the Wethersfield Library.
That's wonderful.
And that's where we meet. We meet once a month at Wethersfield Library and once a month at the Newington Library.
Great. And so now you've dwindled down to about 10 solid members?
Yes, yes.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So it's a core group of now friends.
Well, yeah.
And writers.
Writers. But we all write something different. We're not all writing the same thing.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's what makes it. And a lot of people have expertise in certain areas that others are writing in, so they can help assist in that way, too.
Right.
but maybe Sandra would like to take over next.
Certainly, I'm Sandra Diamond. I feel a little different than my sisters here in that writing is not my primary drive. I have an alternative healing business. I'm a hypnotherapist, a Tai Chi instructor, a Reiki master and teacher, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And my writing is focused on encapsulating my spiritual experiences. So I'm in the middle of 2 books because I must have some ADD, I don't know. And one is called The Docent, and that is to be the guide to your soul. And the second one I'm working on is the 7 Veils of Consciousness. I also have 3 short stories. 2 are actually chapters from one of the books I'm working on, in The Door Opener. And I have been published in other periodicals that are distributed in medical offices. And I enjoy it very much. And
It's
I enjoy the
wonderful.
group.
So, Sandra, in terms of this anthology, Spilled Ink, is that what you're writing about in here? Is that genre?
It's really interesting. I have 3 submissions. The first is a memoir. The second is one of the chapters, which is a very spiritual experience that happened. And the third, it's the end poem. It's on the Angel of Death.
Oh, wow.
So, yes.
Wow, interesting.
On the lighter side, no.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, Liz, your turn. You're up.
Okay, I'm Liz Kirkpatrick. I've for many years worked at the Wethersfield Public Library, and we started a poetry group that by now, it scares me to say it, but it was probably 20 years ago. Lula Cava pushed and said, "You got to start it." So about a week before this group was to meet, I said, "This won't do. I have to, if I'm going to run this, I have to write a poem." So I started, and, I was an English major and all of that. So I started writing, and I kind of kept on. I write poetry. I've written a short story, but I sort of think in metaphors, think in images, and my stories end up being poems, almost. I'm thinking of putting them together, and I'm trying to think how to put them together. There's some that are from childhood, and they're kind of, that would make a nice
You saved them?
No, I'm sorry. I don't mean written in childhood. I
Okay.
mean about.
Oh, about childhood. Oh, okay.
Right.
Okay, wow. What a passion.
That are, no. That are, some that are political commentary of sorts, and some that are very dark. Somebody said, "Why do you always sound so angry in your poems?" And I thought, I'm still thinking about that. I think it's that anger is one of those things that proper little girls aren't supposed to express.
Do you think you sound angry in your poems?
Well, some of them.
Yeah?
Yeah. Well, they're... But I sound funny in some of them, too. One of them in here is comedy.
Well, they're very thought-provoking poems.
Well, I enjoy doing them. And it doesn't bother me so much to be the only one basically writing poetry, and they're still pushing me to get that short story that was in... I wrote one short story, and it needs some work.
It's a good short story.
Well, it's a good story, but it's a raw story. I mean, it needs editing.
But it's a good story.
So I'll do that. I could branch out in that. And I could branch out to memoir, because this fall, my husband and I are going to just get in the car and drive and go to the house in Ohio where I grew up, a farmhouse that I now found, thank goodness, Google Street View. I looked at the same house, and it looks the same.
Wow.
The trees are the same. To tell you, it was farmland. The windmill is still there. And so there's going to be a lot of kind of memoir, and then we're going to go down and,
why not?
visit old friends, and it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
So I'm
Absolutely.
hoping that maybe memoirish, how's that for a word? Memoirish stuff might come out.
Well, you never know where life's going to take you when you have different experiences.
I
You never know.
I keep
After that
thinking-
trip,
I keep hoping I'm going to grow up sometime. But I keep saying, oh, I'm going to do this when I grow up.
right?
But one thing I can say is that we sometimes when we get together we do little exercises, and Liz has taught us how to write poetry. And that's really a lot of fun when you think you could never do it, and you see what you come up, and all of us come up with something different.
Yeah, I wouldn't know how to do
it's
it.
very, very exciting.
Yeah,
Very
I bet.
exciting.
I bet.
It's very nice. But I'll tell you a little bit about me when I'm working on. When I started with the group, I was not a writer, and most of these gals have a background of writing. And
But did you enjoy writing?
yeah, I always did.
Yeah.
I always liked it, but I was never a serious writer. I never really wrote anything, but I did have a story to tell. And that's why when this came from Wethersfield Library, I said, this is my avenue.
What was the story?
The story is it's a novel, and it has to do with good against evil.
Oh.
And it's,
Is it in this anthology?
No.
No, okay.
No, this is my project.
This is your project, okay.
Diane has her project that she's getting published, and this is mine that I
Okay, your individual.
completed. Yes.
Oh.
So it's taken me 6 years,
Wow.
and I'm ready to find an agent, but I'm really a little bit intimidated by them, So anyway,
Why not
that's where I am.
self-publishing?
Well, that'll be the last resort.
Really?
I'm going to really try
To get an
find
agent?
an agent
Okay.
and a publisher, and start at the top, and then I'll work my way down.
Yeah. Well, good luck.
Okay,
Good luck
now
with
we have
that.
Martha.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm Martha Mayer, a Wethersfield resident, and I have been writing murder mysteries set in large environmental projects. I was an environmental consultant and until I got laid off.
Just put it out there.
I did various other things. I am now retired, and I'm finding that I wrote a lot in the environmental consulting business, and but they were all regulatory reports, and they were very formatted, and you had stipulated content you had to provide and format you had to follow, and I'm finding it more enlightening to myself to use this fictional format and the murder format to just think about it again. And because I was involved with some pretty big projects, I worked around the world, and
That's fascinating.
it was during the beginning of the whole environmental business started when I was in college, and I evolved with it through my career, and the whole globalization business evolved, and it's an opportunity for me to think back on my career and to digest it and figure out what it was I was really doing.
So have you had anything published independently of this anthology?
I have two mysteries, and neither of them have been published.
Okay.
But that's a task to work on.
Okay, so it's in the works?
Yes.
Work in progress?
Yeah.
Oh, so that's really fascinating. That
I
genre.
I have a character who is this consultant who can bop around to different locations and get involved in accidentally solving mysteries on the side.
Wow.
While presenting the how environmental work happens. You see the story in the newspaper. It says, "Oh well, there's this and such concentration of something in the ground," or,
in the atmosphere, or this species is now extinct or is about to be wiped out in a water body. And you wonder, how'd they come to that? How did they identify that situation? And
So is there like a lot of legal terms involved? And
well, there's some
lot of-
technical
Yeah.
information provided, and not so much the regulatory.
Okay.
There may be some, a regulator shows up and people having to comply with a rule.
Are your mysteries solved at the end?
They're resolved, I'll say.
Okay. Wow. Okay, that sounds great.
There's a lot of skullduggery.
All right, so let's turn it over to Sarah.
Hi, my name is Sarah Strecker. I'm probably the youngest member of this group.
You are definitely.
She's the baby. I've been with them for the past 6 years. I write thrillers as well as science fiction because my job in the real world is that of a scientist. I got my PhD the same month that Spilled Ink was published, and I'm currently at MIT working in orthopedic models for bone and tissue regeneration and repair. So what I write tends to be science fiction or have more medical bend to it because that's what I know. And that's where my fiction is going. I have been published before. I published Lies in Country, which is a contemporary military thriller. Then that's available on Amazon. If you Google my name or the title. And I've also published numerous articles for the Ehlers-Danlos National Foundation in a way to make medical terminology more accessible to the average reader. Mm-hmm. So that's what I do in general. And I've been writing forever. When I was a kid, I would make my parents, write down the stories because I wasn't old enough to write yet. And I've been writing really my whole life. Poetry, as well as novels. I was the Connecticut State Poetry Slam champion in 2001.
You've got a competitor.
Oh, yeah. A competitor. A colleague.
That's right. Absolutely.
and I've branched more into novels since then. Lies in Country is published, as I mentioned. There's a sequel to that that's finished and in the editing stages. And I'm also working on a new novel that I think I'm going to call Proof of Principle, but that title may change.
I like that title.
And that's more scientific bend.
Wow. So why wouldn't you consider this full-time?
Because I want to make money.
Okay.
No, in
Easy answer.
In reality, I want to help people, and science allows me to do that.
Yeah.
It allows me to say, okay, this drug or this new technique or whatever will be able to help someone with osteoarthritis or osteoporosis.
Right.
So I want to be able to do that. And the fiction I love, it's my escape from the day-to-day lab work. So this is something I can do in my spare time instead of watching TV.
And it sounds like you really enjoy it too.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. So that's the bonus. So that's great. All right, so Trevon.
Yes, my pen name is Trevon. I write urban fantasy, which combines the two things that I love the most, which is rock music and supernatural creatures. So I have completed one book, which we have submitted to agents and publishers, and we do have some interest. And we have, I have several ideas that will make it a series. I've created a world, and I want to play in it for a while.
Wow, you made a series of the book and
Mm-hmm. Of the characters that are in this book and the world that I've created.
wow, sounds like fun.
It is.
It is fun. And that was a genre that the rest of us would never. When she said urban fantasy, and we said, what?
Yeah, no, exactly. That's what I was thinking
right,
too.
well,
and I'm like, Really,
What
what
we're
is that?
discovering, we ask all sorts of questions because we don't understand how this creature can do X or Y.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know all that much about incubi and werewolves and all those folk.
We're tigers.
We're
tigers.
Yeah.
We're learning.
How
But,
do you know?
but in fact, the story is wonderful.
You know, people write about these things. You wonder. I mean, what does it come in their head? Like, how do you know all that?
Well, there's a lot of mythology about all of these creatures, but the good thing about urban fantasy is that you can change it any way you want. Before Bram Stoker wrote Dracula, vampires were these awful things to be feared, and they only came out to kill people. Once Dracula came along, vampires became sexy and became something that they went from being the bad guys to being the protagonist, the love interest, although that's not what mine, well, sort of. Sort of. But it's not necessarily a romance as much as it is just a journey of a hero's journey, his growth from being this kind of person to that kind of person.
Okay. And have you written about that same genre in this anthology?
In the anthology, what I have is a section called Why I Write What I Write, because everybody wants to know, why do you write that? And so I explain what I did in my profession and that I'm really tired of writing about those kinds of monsters and want to play in the fun world of rock stars and vampires and incubi and werewolves. And the other one is about a 2-week tour that I took with a group, following a group. So
A rock band?
Yes. So it gave it gave an idea of what it's like on the road, because we traveled for 2 weeks to 8 states.
Now, was that with a friend or a partner or?
Yes, I traveled with a friend.
Okay, got it.
But it was very interesting because you lost track of time.
Did you get to go backstage or?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, but we were in the first row quite a bit, which helps.
Really? Can you share? Do you want to share who the band was? No. Okay. But it was a rock and roll band, and
Yes.
And
They're
was
probably
this
laughing.
was this in recently, or when you were younger, or?
Probably about 10 years ago.
Okay. And so you're able to write about those experiences in your books. That's great.
And
in your
still go
writing.
to concerts. That's my favorite thing to do.
Yeah, that is fun. It is fun to do that. Rock and roll me. I mean, I'm not a big fan of rock and roll, but, lots of people are. And
Would you go to a Stones concert?
no, I just wouldn't. But, I mean, I like people who do. So let's talk about more specifically what people can expect to read in Spilled Ink. So if they were to purchase it from Amazon, we know they can get it from Amazon. What can they expect to read? Who wants to talk about that?
Well, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say we each have different things in there. I have a poem, a short story, and a memoir piece.
Okay.
And then people have different.
But Sarah actually put it together for us, so it goes kind of chronological.
The way it was designed, I got all these pieces from all the writers in our group, and I started reading through them to try to see how to put them all together. And what I noticed was that it was really a journey from birth to death, based on how, and this was completely accidental. We didn't plan this. And so I put them together in that order. So the first poem in here by Bobby is Eve. So you have that starting of life. And the last, is, as Sandra mentioned, is the angel of death. So you go through life, you have stories and poems about children. Liz wrote a poem, Dreamtime for Children. And then high school, I wrote something called To Michael. And then as you go through the rap tour, more adult life
And
Smile
it's
from the
spelled
window.
W-R-A-P.
Gloria is
not
a
right.
smile from the window. You're slowly going through life, and then toward the end of life, Liz wrote Alzheimer's, and Martha wrote Say Something, and just as this sort of story arc continues, and then we have Bobby's photographs that all show hands as they go from birth toward the end of life. So it really is this journey. And it was unintentional, but I think it's wonderful that we were able to put it together in that story
Yeah, it was
arc.
really thoughtful the way you were able to put it together that way and think of it in that way and put the line up that way. That's wonderful. And you did keep mentioning Bobby's name, which I think you ladies want to give a shout out to Sandra. you
I
want-
did. I know Bobby is Dr. Barbara Coughlin for about 30 years. She was not able to be here tonight due to family issues last minute. But she's a photographer and she's a writer. She wrote a poem, Eve. Her photography is beautiful. I'm so glad you mentioned that you have the aging of the hands. And she also wanted me to mention what she's working on. She's
Okay.
working on a book. Her piece is What It's Like to Grow Up as a Post-War Baby Boomer in Staten Island, New York, in an Irish Catholic oversized family. And she writes with humor.
she does.
You know, and then very deep emotion. So that's her work.
Has she had anything published or just in this anthology?
Just in this anthology,
Okay.
as far as I know.
Okay.
But I think her work screams for. She needs a separate book for all her photographs.
Absolutely.
And she did the cover?
Yes.
She did the
Yes.
cover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if we want to zoom in on the cover, if we could zoom in on this cover, that would be great.
Yeah, I don't know who wrote the paper, but it's gorgeous.
But also, we would be remiss if we didn't give a shout out to your other member, Robin. She's another writer in the group, and she wasn't able to make it tonight also, and we want to give a big shout out to her as well. Do any of you ladies want to talk specifically about any of your stories in the anthology for readers? No? Or you just want them to...
I don't know. For me, I wrote a piece that about losing a friend that I had since I was 12, and that she passed away and what it had done to me, and I reminisced all the years that we spent together. That was one of mine. And another one I put in there was
That was
about
great, though, Gloria, because other people can have parallel experiences to
right,
that, so
right,
they can
and
relate.
it's very difficult to lose a friend. I think that to lose a parent is difficult, of course. And, I don't even want to say anybody, children or anything like that, but to lose a friend that you shared so much with from the time you were little, and that you were in each other's wedding, and you were godparents to their children, and so many things that happened in your life. So that was one thing. And the other thing I wrote was a smile from the window, which was a beautiful winter day where a deer came to my box window and was right in my face. And how I felt, and I had my grandchildren, and how exciting that was. And that was an experience that I'll never forget. So, but everybody put something really special about themselves in here, and I think that Liz's poetry was very touching, and also Sarah wrote about losing her friend.
I had
was
a
very
friend
young.
commit suicide in high school, so I wrote about that and what that experience is like from a different point of view, because I haven't experienced the children and the wedding and the grandkids
right.
yet, and so you're looking at the same event really,
Yeah.
but from a very different
Totally different
perspective.
place, yeah.
And I think that also is one of the great things about this book, is that you can see it from the different perspectives, from where we are in life.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the wonderful things about these ladies, who really are my second mothers,
Second, third, fourth,
is that they've taught me so much about life, in general. They've been really inspirational, not just in my writing, but in my life. I mean, I'm going through a really huge transitional period right now. I'm finally out of school after 20-something years, and I finally got, my PhD. I'm done, and now I've got to transition to the workforce, which is, my friends all did 6-7 years ago. So they've helped me a lot with that, navigating your first apartment, different relationships. I mean, they've been really instrumental in my maturation, my growing up as an adult. So that's one of the great things I think that you can see both in the book and also that we've done for each other.
I have a memoir piece really called The Reunion, and it's not about the loss of a person, but it's a loss of a time that doesn't exist anymore. When I was a kid growing up in Boston, I was from a very large Irish Catholic family, and we all would go to the farm for a reunion every summer. And I talked about the way my grandmother, who had 7 children of her own, and then she had 36 grandchildren, and how she would sing the old songs to us and tell us stories, and my father and the other uncles would be smoking their Lucky Strikes, and it just what I remember of that time, and how that when you're a child you think that's going to last forever, and that at the end I say when you hear the songs and you hear something that sparks that memory, you realize it's not gone, it's still there in you, even though that particular activity, and people moved away. At the time everyone lived in Boston, everyone moved away and the family scattered, but when something reminds you of it, you realize it's still within you.
That's what I find about this wonderful group of women and our writing. We go to profound levels. Our writing's not casual. Our writing is very real. So there's one piece in there, because I come from a highly spiritual perspective, a shamanic journey of where I gave birth to my soul, that my soul had evolved to a certain point that it needed to rebirth, and that I actually went through labor and birthed the soul, and then it came up and stared me in my face and then re-entered my body through the crown of my head. That's real. It's very different. It's not your usual run-of-the-mill. It's like the vampires in rock and roll. So it's different, but we all address the profound core issues of life in a very real, true way.
Do you all feel comfortable in writing with that rawness in mind and then using your real name? Does that ever, do you feel you can do that? Or do you ever feel, oh, I don't want anyone to know it's me?
No, that's okay.
It's really standing in your truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like one of my piece here, Say Something. It's about a person who's in a, they tell you on the TV, oh, you got to say something if you see something.
Yeah.
Oh, you got to say something. You got to say something. And,
Is that what yours is about?
yeah,
I can't
say
read
something.
it.
Say something. Say something. You got to say something. If you see
So are you
something.
for or against?
Well, you better read it.
I love that. That's great.
Because we have there are swings. The thing can swing in various ways, and there you can just take things one way or another. And, how far do you want to go?
Right.
And it is true, when you write something, you are vulnerable. You put yourself
Yeah,
out
you put
there.
yourself
Oh,
out
yeah,
there.
absolutely.
And when we show each other, from the beginning, rough drafts, I mean, over the years, we have developed a real sense of trust in each other, so that you're not afraid to put it out there, and you know that it will be critiqued, but in a kind but honest way. and that we help each other. But you are. I mean, you say, would you not use your right, your real name?
Right. Yeah.
But I think we work so hard on this. I think I want
we have really evolved to becoming much better writers, and it's because of each other.
And everybody has.
So you edit each other.
Oh,
Everybody has a different. I don't know whether to call it a specialty, but a way of approaching work. Like some people will read a piece and they'll catch all the things where plot, trips, let's say.
Yeah.
And then there are others of us, the comma cops, who will say, this sentence doesn't say what you really mean to say. It needs to be broken into two, or, this doesn't work, that's not the right word. Very detailed stuff. And other people catch things about the character, and they hear character in the writing. And that's one of the things that we've learned from each other, because I'll listen to somebody who really has an ear for dialogue, and I think, wow, I see how that works. I haven't been able to replicate it very well, but you learn as much from what the other people say as anything.
I think that's true. We each have our strengths that we can loan to the others.
Right.
Yeah. I think that I would have to agree. We all write certain things very well. And, if I don't know where to put a comma, I turn to Liz. Because I know
English major, daughter of an English teacher. Yes.
But if I'm looking for, does this make sense? Am I going in the right direction? Sandra, Trevon, everyone helps me with that. Why am I getting stuck here? Because as you're writing sometimes, you think, oh, this is a great idea. Where do I put it? You get stuck, or I don't know where the story's going to go from here. And my circle, these wonderful women have helped me numerous times where I'm like, okay, why am I getting stuck? What's wrong? And we've been able to brainstorm and work through it. And I think that's the most wonderful thing, because I can rely on everyone's experiences, not just okay, where should I put the comma? Which is vitally important in many sentences. You don't realize that until you put it in the wrong place. But just how does the story go? How should it flow? Does this character make sense? I mean, I came to them a couple weeks ago, I guess, a couple months ago, and I said, the story that I'm writing doesn't work. And I know it doesn't work, but I don't know why it doesn't work. And they were great in steering me in a different direction, and I've now got 8,000 words in that direction that I need to break up and send in my spare time. But it's really a great tool for me as a growing writer to have these wonderful women looking through my stuff, and they are the first person who sees it. Before my mother, these women see it. Yeah. And they...
Or your circle.
My circle.
My circle. I love that. My circle. Do you ladies say the same thing, my circle? Yeah. I love that. My circle.
Yeah, we're in a circle.
So they see it, because I can trust them, and I know that they will tell me if what I wrote is awful. And I appreciate that, because I may have a bunch of letters after my name, but believe me, I can write really awful stuff. and they're great, and they give me the impetus to want to write more and to want to better myself. And I think we've all done that.
Yeah, we all feel that way.
Yeah.
We all feel that way because we are respectful of each other.
Yes.
Yeah.
No one ever says that this is bad. And the thing about the critique is that they may point out where this is not good, and then they'll say, try it this way.
Yeah.
So not only are you getting critiqued, but you're getting an idea of how you can make it better.
It's true constructive
And everything builds on that, because as you used it over here, now you're going to be able to use it over there.
Yeah.
And so that gives us the momentum to make everything better.
So, Lee, let's talk about how folks can purchase this book. From Amazon.
Yep, it's available on Amazon either as a Kindle book
Kindle.
or as a hard copy. And you can also contact any of us, and we can get you a copy, signed copies if you'd like. May take a little while to get all of our signatures, but we can provide that. So it's.
Can we talk about your blog too quickly?
Sure.
If you want to just mention your, I can give you the folks. Oh, they put it up for us. Good.
Oh, good.
ConnecticutWritersCircle.wordpress.com. So they can go there too and get your contact information.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. You can't purchase the book there though, or can you?
We're working on that.
You're working.
We're
on that.
going to put a buy button on.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we
Yeah,
each
Robin is
write
our tech
something
person.
in there. We each write something in our blog every week.
Okay.
So you'll get little short stories.
Every Monday there's a new entry.
Yeah.
Oh, good. So it's current. That's great.
Or Tuesday. if we don't
You know,
get
if
to
there's
it,
a
we won't.
holiday,
You know, it's the Monday holidays throw us off sometimes.
Right,
We
right.
forget.
So this is really wonderful. I'm really happy that you ladies came on the show and got to talk about your anthology. And
Thank you.
We're very
you.
appreciative
Thank you.
that you've had us.
And this
We've
is-
enjoyed it so much.
can I just ask quickly, how did you get this published?
this is through CreateSpace, which
Okay.
is a subsidiary of Amazon.
Okay.
So what I did is I put it together. I did all the formatting in between
Okay.
my thesis, and and
PhD. She's
it was a great procrastination tool. Though I probably shouldn't have told my boss that on TV. But anyway,
So is this self-publishing?
this is self-published.
Okay.
Yeah, this is self-published. But it was all put together, and the profits that we make are going back into the book and
Okay.
to get more.
And there is contact information on the blog, and we would love to hear from people.
Indeed.
Please.
Love to hear
What are you
responses.
hearing so far about the feedback about the book? Are you hearing anything yet?
We don't have a lot of reviews, but all of them have been 5-star.
Yeah, they've all been very
All been
positive.
very positive. Everything
good.
that-
And a lot of personal reviews that we've gotten that people may not put on Amazon or whatever, but all
Right.
the feedback we've gotten personally from people.
We're all
that-
very, very nice.
Yes.
And you had
very
that
good.
wonderful article and
we did.
Life.
That was fun.
So that was great. So again, this is on Amazon.com for $9.99, was it?
Yep.
And I'm going to read this. I'll get it.
Excellent.
Yeah, I can't wait to read all of these stories. It just sounds so wonderful. And especially, too, you're giving the backstory of it. And then of you ladies, it's so fascinating to hear about all of you that I want to read, like, well, so what are they writing about, since I know a little bit about them now. So, but I think this is really wonderful that you all came together and were able to do something so special. I mean, this is in, the history books forever, so to speak. So congratulations to all of you, and thanks for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
And that's our show for tonight. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you again soon. Good night, everyone.